UKIP launched its manifesto today, claiming to be the only party with a fully costed set of promises. Nigel Farage said he'd usher in a new low-tax revolution and introduced a credible plan for immigration. He maintained that modern politics has left ordinary people behind with nobody to speak for them. Our political correspondent Michael Crick was there.
This Friday, they're holding a Fawlty Towers dinner. Today, the Thurrock Hotel hosted the fun and games of Nigel Farage and UKIP's manifesto. The 2010 version, you'll recall, Farage once denounced as drivel. But this document, he said, has been fully costed, and an outside think tank has audited their savings of £32 billion a year.
We do that by radically cutting the foreign aid budget. We do it by ending EU contributions, which are wholly unnecessary to us doing trade. We do it by scrapping vanity projects such as HS2. And we do it by revisiting the Barnett formula, despite the fact the other three parties are sworn to maintain it. We do it by revisiting and changing the Barnett formula to give Wales and England a better and fairer deal.
I asked about overnight reports that UKIP plans to put out negotiation feelers to the Tories in the final week of this campaign.
Mr Farage, you've repeatedly said you don't trust David Cameron. Will it be a red line of yours that the Conservatives get rid of David Cameron before you're willing to support a Conservative government's Queen's speech?
Well, if I was a Conservative, I would want to get rid of David Cameron, certainly. Can I make it absolutely clear, I have not put any feelers out to anybody over the course of the last week or month, and nor will I be between now and May the 7th.
Then real uproar with this question from The Telegraph.
Are you happy that the only blackface in the document is on the overseas aid page?
A group of black candidates rose together while other UKIPers shouted shame and disgraceful.
If you answer the question, please, Nigel.
He never did. The manifesto had been launched in one of UKIP's top target seats, Thurrock in Essex. Not far away, in the seat next door, is the village of Orsett.
There are small signs at the moment that while in Kent, UKIP may be struggling a bit in places like Rochester and South Thanet, where Nigel Farage himself is a candidate. Here, along the Essex coast, it seems that their support is holding up.
Vote UKIP, vote UKIP.
Do you think it would be good if Nigel Farage became Prime Minister?
Well, I won't go as far as that.
Oh, really? Why not? So you want a bit of Nigel Farage, but not all of him?
That's it. That sounds about right.
You think you're voting for them?
Not at all.
No. Why not?
No way. I think they're hideous. I think they're absolutely hideous.
But I don't think UKIP have yet got traction.
Not round here.
Nationally. Here they've got a good chance of winning, but for odd atavistic reasons, not for free trade, free market, libertarian reasons.
So what's your name, sir?
My buttocks are smooth, my mind is clear, vote UKIP.
But if UKIP only win 3 or 4 seats next month, which right now looks quite likely, then even with a hung parliament, today's manifesto could prove irrelevant. A waste of paper and audit fees. Michael Crick, Channel 4 News, Essex.
Joining us now, Mark Reckless, UKIP's candidate in the constituency of Rochester in Kent, a seat he won last year in a by-election after defecting from the Conservative Party. And unlike your fellow defector Douglas Carswell, you're not in the manifesto. They don't seem to be celebrating you, and you weren't at its launch.
Well, we very kindly quote a line I think I used at the speech in Doncaster when I moved over and joined UKIP, which was that Britain is more than a star on somebody else's flag. And I enjoyed quite a lot of long hours and hard work assisting with that manifesto and the fantastic professional product you see. And just all credit to Suzanne Evans and her team for that work.
Well, one of the other things which we still haven't really got an answer to is that the only ethnic face in the whole of this document is that of somebody who would be aided in some kind of overseas trade issue. No everybody's white in this. Is that sending a signal somewhere?
Well, our immigration spokesperson, I think is front and centre of the immigration section, he's half Irish and half African American, so I'm not quite sure why he isn't counted. But certainly at the by-election we had here, I was just so encouraged by the spread and the variety of backgrounds and different ethnicities that so many people came with enormous enthusiasm to campaign for me. And here in Medway, I was horrified to discover that we've never had a Sikh councillor, with Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems, the largest ethnic minority here, certainly in Rochester and Strood, and they've never had anyone elected from that community. So I'm delighted, that with UKIP, that we hope for the first time actually to elect a Sikh representative to Medway Council. And UKIP is a party for all communities. We relish our ties with the Commonwealth and respect everyone, and encourage them to join us in fighting for an independent Britain.
Now, there's a pledge to get rid of the bedroom tax, as the opponents of it call it. But you voted for it when you were a Tory. I mean, what's happened to you?
I've sort of been in two minds about this issue myself. Here in Rochester and Strood, I have had quite a lot of people when I was the MP who'd come to my surgery and who would raise issues with me with the bedroom tax and how it was affecting them unfairly, how perhaps they were disabled and needed to have a carer there, or they were sharing custody of children, we were going to be put in a one-bedroom flat where they could never have their children to stay. And actually, when I raised those cases with Medway Council, in most, if not all of those, I was able to get people access to a special fund for hardship sort of cases, and was pleased to help my constituents in that way. But some of them felt that was almost asking for charity or special consideration. And I think the really difficult thing about the bedroom tax or the spare room subsidy, depending according to taste, is actually the smaller properties aren't available for people to move down to. So actually people on benefit have had to find extra money from that, often very difficult for them in order to pay a higher rent.
Mr. Reckless, are you now feeling it was perhaps reckless to leave the Conservative Party?
No, not at all. I'm really proud of what UKIP have done today. It's an extraordinarily professional document, a really impressive range of new ideas. So many of the other manifestos are really quite anodyne and just business as usual from the establishment parties. We're out there putting in new ideas, whether on the NHS to get more GPs back to work, whether to bring back the state-enrolled nurse, whether to look after our military and actually help them in terms of getting jobs and work after they leave, and have a dedicated hospital, as well as keeping to that commitment for 2% of GDP set by NATO in a very dangerous world. And I actually feel today UKIP are driving the agenda and offering real change for our country. And I showed in Rochester that if people vote UKIP, they get UKIP.
Mr. Reckless, I'm sorry for the delay in this interview. It was very difficult to talk with you, but the castle's real, and you appear to be. And I ought to thank you and also say that we will list the other candidates in his constituency on our website immediately, because you're not allowed to say that as often as he has. Matt.
Thanks, John. Thank you for coming down.